Namaste. So, this evening on the 17th of August, a couple of days after we had celebrated and observed the birth anniversary of Sri Aurobindo, we take up the life divine again to look at some of its principal themes. For the last couple of weeks, we've been on the topic of being. And we continue. Of course, it's endless. It's endless. It would appear on virtually every page of the Life Divine, the very term. But what we've learnt and felt so far is that being is that it is an essence, that it has grades and volumes and forms by which it expresses itself. It is not merely a transcendent. Not only that, that is its greatest term of being. But as this being moves forward in its potencies, it manifests from utter transcendence in terms of valuation and status into the formed and active, multifaceted universe that we have before us, populating this universe with emerging individual souls which seek conscious, dynamic reunification with the larger terms of being, to recover transcendence, but to remain cosmic while living in the transcendent. So these three terms of being that Sri Aurobindo uses frequently in the Life Divine Synthesis of Yoga, and even in Letters on Yoga, essays on the Gita, we cannot forget. We see that transcendence, universality, and individuality are the three poises of a single reality. But what is this world in which we live? What's the solution to our divided and maimed existence? This he wants to penetrate in his analysis of life with his book. It became a book. It began as a series of articles in a journal, Arya, launched in 1914. And he notes in that first chapter, which we've had occasion to go back to in just the last couple of days on his birthday, to the idea that there's an impulse driving the universe forward. In a telling passage, he calls it an upward impulse because it is natural. It is a feature of the cosmos that it would seek to find out what it is and to gain all that is potential in it in actual being, in actual formation. So, to compel manifestation, to render shape, to install energy, and to focus on experience. All of this occurs. The keynote of the cosmos is this impulse towards perfection. And we search for truth. We search for bliss. We search for our concealed immortality and unwincing experience and capacity. All the things that our limited instruments seek to express are native to being at its heights. But we are not at our heights. We are here in this divided, seemingly divided universe. So that upward impulse with which he begins this series, The Life Divine, is the power of the consciousness force, Chit Shakti, to accord and integrate the pressing oppositions that bedevil and beguile us as the power of evolution moving forward reclaims all that we seem to have lost. There's a kind of promise in that, that if we don't quit the effort, we who have agreed, after all, to come here, we have not been compelled. The freedom of the spirit above and its transcendence, there is no compulsion. There is only free choice in solidarity with the only one that exists. And existence is real. It is single. It is not solitary. It is multiple. And we are part of that multiplicity. But we have all that inside us. Let us not say locked inside us. That means it can't be opened or that we have to find a key. The key is our aspiration. The key is our insistence to grow, this upward impulse. We come back again to the Sanskrit concepts of Shabda, Spanda, the living word, the powerful word, articulated manifests what is essential being. This is an idea that, so far as I know, begins in India, but it has worldwide consequences and echoes. This idea is something that marries the creative impulse to the power of consciousness to speak to itself, to, in a sense, compose, multiply, and order from its unitary being, multiformal and multitudinous nature. It is a natural movement. We said on the 15th that it is like the sinuous movement of a serpent, the great cosmic serpent, ever changing, ever in motion, ever moving. We look at its twisting movement and think that it's sinuous, that it's not going anywhere, perhaps, that it has no direction. The serpent knows where it's going. The universe knows where it's going. But we, perplexed though we be, have earned the attempt to try to exceed ourselves. We have risen to be at the top of the evolutionary chain as the universe tries to discover through us what it really is, what all its powers might be, how far can it go, what is the vision open and possible to us. And if our weakness right now contrasts with what we might be above, what we were at one time, perhaps before time began, then that means that the teleology, The logic behind the universal movement is hidden to the mind. The mind can't conceive it. But if we outgrow the mind, which evolution tells us we must do, then perhaps we can understand and work in concert with future revelations of universal power. But first, we have to exceed the limits of the mind. The quest, the noble quest to satisfy all our desires or to become master of the universe. Anyway, the upward impulse will not let us rest, will shake us free from comforting illusions, empty pleasures, as we've said, and drive us towards our inherent and waiting divinity. So that made real in us valorizes, validates the whole cosmic journey. To succeed, we reveal our secret reality, the essence from which we began, in the very frame that sustains us, the body, in every mode of our being. Let reality speak. This is a larger idea of self-realization that Sri Aurobindo is connoting here than the typical flight from phenomenal existence into an essential status beyond. For Sri Aurobindo, self-realization fulfilled means the self being known in every part of the nature not abandoned, but redeemed. So it is complete, purna. It is full. It is ripe. Nature is recognized, and the world is worthy. So we begin with existence, and existence is the truth. It is true being. Satya, from real existence, is truth. So existence is true being. And if you like to begin with the idea that it's homogenized, and absolute, yet it consciously creates by its inherent power from delight. So any mode or mood of being, becoming on any plane is imbued with that. Yes, even here, perhaps disguised in this triple world of mind, life, and matter, but above, in the supernal, this is clearly visible. An unwalled vision. Now, several Upanishads state this symbolically and using sometimes the power of mythic language to convey the idea, but there is a reality, a sat. But perhaps beyond sat, there is an unknowable, which can be called non-being, asat. What would that mean? To the mind, it means the contradiction of being, a void, a shunya of some kind. But to the Upanishads and to Sri Aurobindo, and the Upanishads, let's be a little specific, Brihad Aranyaka, Chandogya, and Taittiriya, all agree that this world is real. And what might it come from? If it is apparently a sat, it just means that which escapes definition. If we say being is, then being gets captured by that formula. But whatever that reality is, whatever that unknowable is, it escapes even the positive definition of being. So this is something that is within the freedom of the divine itself. So, if it is free but becomes being, that being is not a blank, it is not a gallon of milk, but it has within it the power of self-awareness. It is conscious. And its conscious being and experience in itself, since it is infinite, since it is deeply and fully and permanently aware, has only bliss as its experience. So, Sri Aurobindo is a realist and begins his cosmology from this idea that the unknowable may become being, but that is a positive statement. And this creative word takes us from a primordial state of unmoving, limitless, timeless, inconceivable being into motion. For Sri Aurobindo, there is a push. This begins the world. Hence the upward impulse. It does move. Consciousness force renders a self-determined truth, a focused power, which we can call a divine Maya. So what we've said so far brings us back to the idea, the great Vedantic concept of Satchit Ananda, existence, consciousness, bliss, or a conscious existence whose nature is delight. But it is triune, it is inconceivable, and it is a stepping forth of that Satchit Ananda into an active poise, as if it's bringing its illimitable nature into a kind of focus. And this lens through which it focuses itself is what Sri Aurobindo calls the divine Maya. It is supramental. It is supramental knowledge will, drawn from consciousness force. Knowledge, an aspect of consciousness. Force, an aspect giving itself into the universe as will. So this is the first station in which the Supreme moves as a concerted whole. This divine Maya is able to translate infinity into finite mode. Because however large the universe might be, however immense, it is an aspect, it is a fraction of what potential there is in Satchit Ananda. But what the divine Maya produces is real to its core. It has never left Satchit Ananda in its manifestation, and necessarily what has been static becomes dynamic. Each emerging individual in that true state contains the whole, the all, and each is perfect in vision and action. Again, this is in the supramental region. So essential truth becomes ordered both in cosmic architecture, because we've got the big, we've got the vast, the universal, the all, and we have the individual definition as well. The flow is from that into the all without barrier. All is in each is in all. Perfect harmony. This creative and expansive movement, because it is Brahman, which means to grow, to expand from the root br, proceeds from she, the divine Maya, who measures out the infinite, and again is the power of record in the supramental belt of being. What the divine Maya produces is not illusory. She creates truths that exist in and proceed to unity in true being. This is not the power that we come to know in Advaita Vedanta or other Vedantic treatises in schools. Sri Aurobindo writes that other Maya, concealed by this mental, has to be overpassed, then embraced. For it is God's play of the infinities of existence, the splendors of knowledge, the glories of force mastered, and the ecstasies of love illimitable, where he emerges out of the hold of force, holds her instead, and fulfills in her illumined that for which she went out from him at the first. So we have moved then cosmically from the higher to the lower Maya to be here in our triple world of the ignorance, but this is not the divine Maya. And as he says, we have to use what linkage we can from where we are to penetrate the mystery of the dividing Maya here to get back to the unitive Maya above. All are powers of the divine force, but here concealed, disguised. This is the riddle of the world, to borrow a phrase from Sri Aurobindo and other thinkers, and demands not that we solve the problem intellectually, and this is not even a koan, that simply silencing the mind will allow the true thing to be seen. This requires us to exceed the mind, not simply to silence it, but then to step above and beyond it. This is the greatness of the yoga that Sri Aurobindo has proposed. But this world in which we live, this is the Maya of ill fame. This is her function that divides, misleads, conceals, limits. It is this Maya that mind knows. So mind cannot be our trustworthy guide here. It is an instrument of light, but a derived light, and it appears not in the supermind, but in the passage from the supermind in the descent in the involution down into this world of relative darkness from which we have to grow, from which we have to evolve. It is a compression of light that distributes and divides. Above, there is another universe, let us say, where the divine Maya rules, drawing all the infinity from Satchitananda. And that is a world of cosmic order, beauty, harmony. All is there, realized and perfected. This, however, is the big challenge. Can that coming here be recreated to be a cousin of that? To be identical with that? This is the whole purpose of the evolution. So, this Maya that we shake our fist at is not the source or the seer of creation. What sees is above. This is permitted as part of a cosmic endeavor, adventure. So we won't examine or explore right now this hierarchy, noting again that that divine Maya is above in the supramental region as the real idea. In other words, an idea, a concept true in and of itself, empowered to achieve what it sees. So the sight that we have to develop to be cognate with it, to link to it, to commune with it, to allow its idealities to flow through us into the movement of nature here, is that great knowledge with a capital K, a gnosis, capital G, Gnosis, the old Greek term. And that is what makes the vast harmony real in form and power. Now, it's easy for us to distinguish our incapacities from those full capacities. So we know where we are in our limitations, and we know that towards which we must grow. And that supramental truth, the active and dividing mind cannot see fully. We have a sense of it. We feel it calling us. We realize that we can't rest on our laurels, that all of our achievements, each day, each success has to be placed into the hands of the divine, has to be assembled into a handsome offering. And then once given, we forget it and go on. That is hers or theirs or that's, whatever you want to say about it. Our work is endless, and the next action calls us back to the same consecration. Our psychological challenge to be able to get there is to still the mind and settle deeply within into a soul seat in order to then actively climb step by step up the inner stairway to the vast above. And while we do that, we always keep that soul seat. We never leave that asana. No, we bring everything to us. So the one who is true in being, infinite in awareness power, limitless in delight, posits itself into universal and individual concordance through the agency of this supramental lens. Obviously, being has more than one facet or phase of being becoming, but from concording oneness, to resonating symphonic harmony in sustained and unbreakable balance. That is the authentic expression of reality. Reality is not a state. It moves. It is dynamic. It throbs. So I think we've come far enough this evening, and I look forward to hearing your comments, your indictments. I look forward to receiving your threats. I will read now from Savitri. In Book 1, the Book of Beginnings, page 42. We're in Canto 3, the Yoga of the Soul's Release. Pardon me. A darkness carrying morning in its breast looked for the eternal wide returning gleam, waiting the advent of a larger ray and rescue of the lost herds of the sun. In a splendid extravagance of the waste of God, dropped carelessly in creation's spendthrift work, left in the chantiers of the bottomless world, and stolen by the robbers of the deep. The golden shekels of the eternal lie, hoarded from touch and view and thought's desire, locked in blind antres of the ignorant flood, lest men should find them and be even as gods. A vision lightened on the viewless heights, a wisdom illumined from the voiceless depths, a greater interpretation, deepened truth, a grand reversal of the night and day. All the world's values changed, heightening life's aim. A wiser word, a larger thought came in than what the slow labor of human mind can bring. A secret sense awoke that could perceive a presence and a greatness everywhere. The universe was not now this senseless whirl, borne round inert on an immense machine. It cast away its grandiose, lifeless front, a mechanism no more or work of chance, but a living movement of the body of God. A spirit hid in forces and in forms was the spectator of the mobile scene. The beauty and the ceaseless miracle let in a glow of the unmanifest. The formless everlasting moved in it, seeking its own perfect form in souls and things. Life kept no more a dull and meaningless shape. In the struggle and upheaval of the world, he saw the labor of a Godhead's birth, a secret knowledge masked as ignorance, fate covered with an unseen necessity, the game of chance of an omnipotent will, a glory and a rapture and a charm, the all blissful sat unknown within the heart. Earth's pains were the ransom of its prisoned delight. A glad communion tinged the passing hours. The days were travelers on a destined road, the nights companions of his musing spirit. A heavenly impetus quickened all his breast. The trudge of time changed to a splendid march. The divine dwarf towered to unconquered worlds. Earth grew too narrow for his victory. once only registering the heavy tread of a blind power on human littleness. Life now became a sure approach to God, existence a divine experiment, and cosmos the soul's opportunity. I have to go back and correct a sentence I read wrongly. A deeper interpretation, greatened truth. Back on page 42. Thank you for your patience. Namaste. We are all still in the radiance and the effulgence of the 15th of August. Let's live out the terms of our celebration. Here and now, Ihaiva, Namaste, Jai Ma.